right, so note 5-6, we're going to do this a little bit differently. This is going to be a practice page. So this video is for you to check for understanding. So remember, when you're graphing, you can graph by hand or by calculator. I don't care either way. I'm going to do the first one by calculator to refresh your memory. So I'm going to bring down the x plus y equals 3. I need to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract x, and that gives me y equals negative 1x plus 3. For the other equation, I'm going to move the 3x. That gives me 2y equals negative 3x plus 14. And then I'm going to divide by 2, and that gives me y equals negative 3/2 x plus 7. When you're using the calculator, so just a quick review really quick, you put your equations in the calculator. Well, the first one was negative 1x plus 3, and then the other one is negative 3 over 2x plus 7. Once I have that, I hit graph to see if they intersect. Now, this is the flashing line I was talking about. If that's circling, don't hit a button. Okay, you can see they intersect, so we second trace. Number 5, enter, enter, enter. And my intersection is 8, negative 5. So I'm going to write 8, negative 5. Okay, for the other one, I can't put this one in the calculator because I have this x equals 4. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go to 4 on the x-axis and draw my vertical line. And then I'm going to bring down the x plus 2y equals 6. To get y by itself, I subtract the x. That gives me 2y equals negative 1x plus 6. And then I divide by the 2, so that gives me y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. For this problem, you're going to start at 3, and then you're going down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. Keep repeating for all your points, and then reverse it. Up 1, left 2. I'm going to draw in my line, and I can see that they're intersecting, and they intersect at the point 4, because remember, x has to be 4, 1. Okay, now for the next 3 methods, this is by substitution. Okay, for substitution, you're going to take a letter by itself, which y is by itself. I'm going to box what it equals, and I plug it into the outside letter in the other equation. So this is going to become 4x minus 3, but instead of y, we do the box, which is 7x plus 6, and it equals 16. When I distribute, I get 4x minus 21x minus 18 equals 16. So 4 minus 21x becomes a negative 17x minus 18 equals 16. We're going to add 18, and that gives me negative 17x equals 34. We divide by negative 17, and x equals negative 2. Well, now that I know that x is negative 2, I come back in here and plug it back up into the box. So y equals 7 times negative 2 plus 6. That would be negative 14 plus 6, which gives me negative 8. So my answer is negative 2, negative 8. Okay, for number 4, the x is the letter that doesn't have something with it. So I need to get this onto this side. So that means I need to plus 7y. This becomes x equals 7y minus 21. I'm going to box that, and it plugs into the x into the other equation because x is the outside letter. This becomes 2 parentheses 7y minus 21 minus 14y equals negative 42. When I distribute, that gives me 14y minus 42 minus 14y equals negative 42. Combining like terms, 14 and negative 14 cancel. So I have negative 42 equals negative 42. Since this is a true statement, this means an infinite many solutions. Okay, for number 5, again, I have to get this x by itself. It's the only letter, so I have to move this over here by adding 4y. So this becomes x equals 4y plus 12. I'm going to box that, and that plugs into the x in the top equation. So we're going to do 3 open parentheses, 4y plus 12 minus 5y equals 15. This gives me 12y plus 36 minus 5y equals 15. 12 minus 5 becomes 7y plus 36 equals 15. We're going to subtract the 36. So 15 minus 36 is negative 21. And to get y by itself, I divide by 7, so y equals negative 3. I then take the negative 3 and plug it back into the boxed equation. So I get x equals 4 times negative 3 plus 12. Well, that gives me negative 12 plus 12, which gives me 0. So my order pair would be 0, negative 3. Okay, for the last substitution one, the y is by itself, so I box that and I plug it into the y because that's the outside letter. So I have 8x plus 5 times negative 5 equals negative 17. So I get 8x, and then it becomes a minus 25 equals negative 17. I add 25, so negative 17 plus 25 is 8. So I have 8x equals 8. I divide by 8, and x equals 1. You do not need to take this and plug it back in because you do not have an x in your box. So you already know what y equals, so you just write your order pair as 1, negative 5, and you are done. Now remember, for all three of these, not this one, these three, you can take your two answers and plug them back in and make sure they work. Now moving on to elimination. If I have x above x, y above y equals and number, it's ready to eliminate if you have the same number. Since my x's are the same, if I do 1 plus 1, I get 2, so I want to subtract. 1 minus 1 cancels. Negative 1 minus negative 6 becomes a positive 5y. And negative 10 minus negative 25 becomes a 15. So when I divide, I get y equals 3. I take that and plug it back into one of the originals. So I'm going to do the top. X minus y is 3 equals negative 10. I'm going to add 3, so I get x equals negative 7. So my answer would be negative 7, 3. You can take that, plug it in, and check it. For number 8, since my y's are the same, if I do 2 plus negative 2, it will cancel, so I'm going to do a plus sign. So 2 plus 8 is 10x. 2 plus negative 2 cancels. And 28 plus 22 is 50. When I divide by 10, x will equal 5. So now I plug this back in. I'm going to go with the top original. So 2 times 5 plus 2y equals 28. This is 10 plus 2y equals 28. I'm going to subtract 10. That gives me 2y equals 18. I divide by 2, and y equals 9. So my answer would be 5, 9. I can take it, plug it back in, and see how I did. For the 9, the x's and the y's are different. So since I have a 3 and a 1 and a 6 and a 2, I'm going to go 3 and 1. I'm going to flip them and multiply by the flip. So 1 times 3x is 3x, 1 times 6y is 6y, and 1 times 27 is 27. 3 times 1x is 3x, 3 times 2y is 6y, and 3 times 11 is 33. Now my x's, if I do 3 plus 3, it becomes 6, so I want to subtract. 3 minus 3 cancels. 6 minus 6 cancels, so I have 0. And then 27 minus 33 becomes negative 6. This is a false statement, so this one is no solution. You can't check that one. Okay, the last one, x is above x, y above y equals in my answers. I can either switch 4 and 7 or 3 and 5. 3 and 5 will be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to make this one be 3 and this one be 5. 3 times 4x is 12x, 3 times 5y is 15y, and 3 times 22 is 66. Okay, 5 times 7 is 35x, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15y, and 5 times negative 32 is negative 160. Since my y's are the same, if I do 15 plus negative 15, they will cancel, so I'm going to do plus. So 12 plus 35 is 47. And I have x equals 66 minus 160 is negative 94. I divide by 47, and I get x equals negative 2. I'm going to plug that back in. So 4 times negative 2 plus 5y equals 22. I get negative 6 plus 5y equals 22. Going to add 6, so I get 5y equals 30. I divide by 5, and I get y equals 6. So the final answer will be negative 2, 6. You can plug that in and check it. So check all your answers, and if you got one wrong, ask for some help.